What's up, humans, and welcome to a new Psicoactivo. Okay, I'm gonna explain to you what I did with my last video of Eric Burleson because I was doing the video about some statements that came out. They went viral today, but they're like from a month ago, and I didn't realize that he was talking about this cube inside a sphere UFO. And months ago, I did a video only for my members because I do relay some information there that was sensitive at the time. And if I revealed it back then, I would have gotten in trouble. But now that Burleson released the information, I released the video too. So you can find it on my feed. It's my second to last video that I published. Um, so that's that. Welcome to a new Psicoactivo. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Technically, this is the fourth video that I'm going to release today. I'm sorry for the spamming, but it was important. We got Ross Coulthart finally putting out a presentation with Jake Barber and the new senior advisor for Skywatcher, Matt Pines, who's been on the show. And Pines recently was active on X, and I had to ask him a few questions about what he's been doing over there. And he relayed to me something that he already made public today, that he was very intrigued by the 9 different classes of UAP that Skywatcher has identified on their phase 2 of their operations. There are a couple more things that I do want to look into because Jake Barber is claiming that they have 2 systems to do this, to attract the UAP. The less accurate one is the Psionics one, which they call it something like a meditative activity that brings or attracts the UAP. And the other one, they call it the dog whistle, which is essentially like a frequency that they tap into that attracts UAP. And this only tells me that these objects or whatever they are attracted by a certain type of frequency. And it also tells me that the brain has the capability to tap into frequencies with this. And I think it's fascinating that he's talking about that. And before I continue, I also have always shared some of my concerns with what Skywatcher is doing. I don't necessarily think that what they're doing is not true. I do think that what they're trying to do is actually true. But I do have my concerns with a lot of different aspects surrounding all of this that have been happening for a while. If you follow the channel, you know what I'm talking about. There's the tech bros that are trying to get a hold of information that has been sequestered by these aerospace companies and the agencies, the so-called secret keepers. And we see that a lot of the new tech companies are starting to move towards getting a hold of this data or information or material or whatever it is. That is concerning to me. And even though I know that Skywatcher is an independent type of effort, it still concerns me that people like even Ross or Jake Barber are saying that to the defense of the Department of Defense, or that, yeah, I know that the government is not a monolith, but historically, if you look at what they have been doing, they're the main responsibles for this secrecy, even if they're not a monolith. I know that there are good people in the government and there are bad people in the government. So I guess what I'm saying is that the messaging that you guys are relaying, it needs to be a little bit more clear into who or which agencies could potentially be the bad actors, quote unquote. Or, yeah, I've heard Ross before saying that he knows the names of the secret keepers. If you do that, if you do know them, and this project is already this advanced, um, I don't see an issue with pointing those names out, honestly, because it's more of us that are against these bad people. So know that if you become public with this information about these secret keepers, everybody has your back, you know, because if you're telling the truth about this, we need for those people to be singled out, because this effort needs to be as clean as possible and as transparent as possible. And I do commend you all for being this transparent so far, because I do think that you guys are laying it all out for us. There's a paper that Matt Pines wrote that is coming out within the next couple of hours or so that I'm going to leave in the description so you guys can check that out. That's data. And that is like the intention that they have for this phase 2. But let's look into some of the claims that Jake Barber just made. Something that really surprised me is that he is very confident, saying that they captured footage of multiple Tic Tacs in broad daylight about half a mile away, and not that up in the sky, which is really, really interesting if you ask me. And he was very clear, though, because I know how difficult it can be to record one of these things. I know that, for example, the Tedesco brothers, who are some of the people that have the most compelling videos on UFOs, you see those videos, it's not really that spectacular. But if you understand what type of sensors they're using and the angles and, you know, the distance and the nature of the objects and their movement patterns and all that stuff, you understand how important that work is. Even if the regular people think it's not really that spectacular, which I agree. If somebody who's not following the topic and doesn't understand all this sensor stuff sees something like this, they're not going to be that impressed. But you need to understand the entire context. So, without further ado, here's Jake Barber on Ross Coulthart's reality check, talking about the different types of UAP they captured. Shout out to AVM for clipping this, but obviously the link to the full interview is going to be in the description. It's over an hour and a half long. I'm not going to clip much, and I'm not going to give you much, just the important tidbits that I found. So here's Jake Barber.
Taking everyone through what we call our 9 classes of UAP. And the 9 classes of UAP are what we use to try and separate and classify and differentiate between all the different things we're witnessing. And those 9 classes are really subcomponents of a broader, maybe 3 categories. And those 3 categories are something like actual craft, like machinery flying in the sky, to light phenomenon that can be crystals, beams, orbs, things that appear to be something like a plasma blob in the sky, all the way to flying creatures, like what might be a flying jellyfish or an interdimensional creature, as crazy as that sounds.
That is wild.
There is a class or a set of classes that falls under that category as well.
And Jake,
what people are going to...
Forgive me for interrupting. Just to be clear on this, when you say these 9 classes, are these 9 classes that you have already recorded, seen?
Yes. So they're proprietary. It's our class system that we've come up with, and that's what we're going to be sharing. I think one of the classes that people are going to be most excited to see, because it's very well known and arguably one of the most famous and interesting UFO UAP classes out there, is the Tic Tac. So on April 7th, you'll get to see our interactions with the Tic Tac. We had a lot of success with the Tic Tac in episode 2, or the filming of that. It showed up for us several days in broad daylight, dropping from above 80,000 feet, as everyone has heard. We pick it up on our radar, we track it, we image it through a number of different means. And so that's going to be exciting to see, because that's one of the ones that holds the most promise for an exciting conclusion right now.
Now, you just, I can't let this one go by. I'm
Don't let it go.
On the edge of my seat. You talked about the jellyfish. Have you seen a jellyfish, and have you videoed a jellyfish?
Yeah, and why we call it a jellyfish? Like, we take a pretty humble, like, kindergarten approach to our classifications to make it simple for everyone. Like, it literally just looks like a jellyfish. It looks like a head of a mushroom with tentacles, and there seems to be like electrical pulses that go up and down between the head and the tentacles. And I don't want to get too much into it because I want to allow my teammates that we're going to be introducing in episode 2 a chance to go into this. And they have a very specific story to tell there, and I don't want to spoil it for them. But
I can understand. You want to save the best for later.
Wow. Okay, so 9 different classes that are already recorded. He says that the most exciting is the Tic Tac. And another part of the interview, he says that it's like half a mile away. That's the closest, which is not that far. And not that high up either. So, and that one of these Tic Tacs apparently came from above, which is also pretty wild. And in my previous video, I showed how Representative Burleson was talking in this interview, saying that he believes that the Tic Tac is anomalous and they don't know what it is. There's a lot of debate about the Tic Tac. You know that Dr. Stephen Greer has said forever that the Tic Tac is Lockheed Martin's. We don't know that for sure, but he's like 100% sure of that on that. And there's a lot of people that think that the Tic Tac is anomalous. They don't know what it is. So, man, they sure are making really wild claims. The wildest of them all is that the 2 systems they have, one of them is called the dog whistle, which is an artificial system that doesn't involve psionic acids. And this is what Jake Barber claims that the dog whistle does. And I'm going to show it to you guys so you can check it out, because it's really, really incredible. Here it is.
When you flip the dog whistle on, the UAP appear. If you just flip on a noise control signal, they do not. Now,
and how often is that the case? So is it 100% of the time that when you sound the dog whistle, the electromechanical signaling, do the objects come all the time?
Okay, I'm going to be very bold right here, and I'm going to tell you that 100% of the time when we run our operation with the dog whistle, we get results in broad daylight that is visible from multiple observation posts. And another thing to run a control with correlation is the things that we are seeing are so anomalous. Not only are they not showing up when you run some form of technological placebo, let's say, show me anywhere else that anyone has ever seen in any of these things. Like they don't, you would, if they were not responding to the dog whistle, we would see videos of this jellyfish that you're going to see through cell phone footages out of airliners and other people observing them. I've never seen this outside of, well, let's just say this doesn't exist in the public domain. The only one that does is the Tic Tac, and we all know how exciting and how respectable the Tic Tac accounts are. Those are not to be dismissed as random events.
Okay, so man, I'm glad I did this video, because apparently if they are confirming this to be as effective as Jake Barber claims, we could be in front of a detection system for UAP and a traction system for UAP that has 100% accuracy. So that means that they may have found the way to directly communicate or attract what they think is non-human intelligence. I know we're still on a wait and see basis. These claims are really, really bold. I know that there's a lot of people out there that don't believe anything that Skywatcher is doing. I get that. But I think it's important to point out that they're being really thorough with what they're explaining. And at least we have to give them the benefit of the doubt so they can show what they have, and let them show us both of those UFOs or UAP, the Tic Tac and the Jellyfish, and let's see what that looks like. When we see that, I don't think that we're going to be like, oh, this is disclosure. I don't think so. I think that as I told you before, we need to understand the full context, the full data collection, the sensors that they use in order to fully understand what's going on and what they're trying to do. Because honestly, I think that this type of proactive initiative is what we need. And the fact that these guys are already doing it, they're out there, they're putting their money where their mouth is, even if the results end up being underwhelming for a lot of people, because it's always going to be that way. You're never going to please everybody. Kudos to all of them for at least trying to do something that the government has denied or refused to do over nearly 80 years, which is pretty concerning, if you ask me. Another thing that I think should be mentioned is that Jake told Ross that by the end of this year, we're going to have this level of clarity that I told you about. We're going to know if these data collection systems do work or if they don't work. But they do seem really, really confident. And I think it's worthy of acknowledging how confident Jake is. And I also have been talking to Matt, and he does seem really, really intrigued. And if you guys know what Matt is about, it's really hard to impress him. So that's really interesting to me as well. I want to hear what you have to say about this, because I think if they really did crack this, and if this is really what's going on, it could very well be one of the biggest discoveries ever for humanity. I don't know if that's the case. I understand your skepticism. Just reporting on what's going on. Don't shoot the messenger. But yeah, I say let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Wait for the data. Wait for what they're doing. Let them present whatever they want to present. And let's read that document that I left in the description. And let's wait for April 7th. See what's going on. Let me know in the comments. What do you think about this presentation? Please watch the entire interview. It's really, really interesting. I recommend 10 out of 10. If you like the content you see, I'm going to ask you to please like, share, subscribe, comment, hit the bell icon so you can get notified when new video drops. If you want to support the channel in any other way, you can go to KGRA on all their feeds. You can become a member if you like. Thank you for that. And you can also pick a link from the description below. Any help of what I just mentioned is always appreciated. So thank you. And that's it for me today on this video, but I'll be looking at you in the comments. Let me know what you think. Remember, stay curious. Always stay inquisitive. Bye.